Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Wisdom Wednesdays with Dr.FineGrit. This is now episode 7. So we've had 7 great weeks of education with sand carving topics. And today's no less of a topic. It's one of my favorite discussions, and that's stage carving. It's a remarkable process in sand carving because it's high profit. It's a neat thing to see. Like I'll be showing quite a few shots of different carving technique like you see there. So a lot of different carving ideas. Just want to throw a little shout out to Norm Dobbins. He's the gentleman that taught me a lot of my techniques in stage carving. Well, about 14 years ago. He passed on, but before that he passed on a lot of good ideas to me. I considered him the doctor of carving or the king of carving. He did a lot of different techniques, and I want to show some of those with you today. So again, welcome to Wisdom Wednesday number 7, and we're going to have some fun and show you a quick video with a question and answer period afterwards. So looking forward to working with all of you and teaching you some sand carving tricks with multiple stage carving. Enjoy the video. Let's talk later.
Welcome back, everyone. We're here with Dr. FineGrit. He's here to give you the prescription for your stage carving diagnosis.
All right, thank you, Michaela, for that introduction. I got an SB, sandblaster license. So I'm going to show you today some stage carving. Very common item, very popular, you name it, probably it. I have a whale of a time. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We have a flower. This one here, I named that a 2-stage. All right, it's got a lot of detail in that design. You can see on the artwork as well as on the mask and on the glass block. Almost too much detail to do any levels because my first level that I go the deepest on is not very wide. So this is an ideal candidate for a 2-stage, which what I'll do is remove all the dark first to reveal a nice white line being sandblasted. And then what I'm going to do is weed out the inside fill area with an X-Acto blade and then just lightly shade it afterwards. So you have a white outline with a shaded gray inlay or fill. On the whale design, this is where it gets really into my passionate for this sand carving technique is I can get into levels. Rather than doing just 2 levels, I'm going to do multi-level. So what I'm going to do here is blast the deepest right down below and work my way up. The way it works with stage carving artwork is you blast the item closest to you the deepest. All right? So, because I'm going to put it on a glass block so I can look at it from either direction. You typically want to blast so you can see through it from the first surface to the second. Okay, so you can see the dimension in the glass. Okay, so that being said, I blast the item closest to me the deepest, because it's the item closest to me when I look at it from the opposite side, right? And then I'm going to stage it from there. So the item next deepest would be this level, and then it goes to the 3rd level, 4th level, and 5th level. So this would be considered a 5-stage. Okay, so instead of a 2-stage, we got 5 levels. That's 5 different carving depths on a piece of glass. So it's amazing work, not that hard. I'm going to show you this in 5 easy steps. So the best way to do it is to number it. So I put my first stage, that's my deepest carve, item closest to me. And then what I do then is I map it out. What's the item next closest? Normally it's an item that's bigger, right? Because if it's closer, it's usually bigger. Okay. Also, you can tell by overlaps. So this tail is over that, so that's obviously behind. And then this one could be either a 2, or that could be a 2. I'm going to do this. I want to go deepest. I'm going to do my whale tail as a 2. Do this as my 3, That's my 4, and then my 5. Okay, so that sequence is the carving depth. So deepest, second deepest, because it's got a wider image I can go deeper on. 3rd, and 4th, and 5th. So it's a 5-level, multi-level stage carve. All right, now we get to blast this glass block with a 2-stage flower. Okay, so what I'm gonna do here is blast this dark area, which is brittle. It's going to sandblast right off the bat when I hit it with abrasive. I'm going to go as deep as the line is wide. The deeper I go, the more contrast, the more pop, the more attractive, in other words, it's going to be on your piece. So go as deep as you can, but it's usually the rule of thumb, I mean, is go as deep as the line is wide. So don't waste your time going all the way through the glass or anything like that. It's not going to happen. So just go as deep as the line is wide. And what I'm going to do is blast at 40 PSI. Consider it is a 4 mil thick material. I'm going to put this in the machine. Wait, silicone carbide 180 at it and start blasting out this nice outline. So you can see my pace. So I know I hit everything in one shot, so I don't have to go back. It's slower is faster. You're allowing the abrasive to work. So everything's now outlined and broken apart, so I could do the peel right now. But like I said, I want to go slightly deeper. That way I can get more contrast, more excitability. It's more attractive. Something that sticks out better in your workshop or your business, online.
Darin, are there any special techniques for your nozzle use when you're doing stage carving?
That's a good question. As you notice here, what I'm doing is following the lines with my abrasive. See that spark again from the silicon carbide material? So by following my lines, I'm actually cutting that glass the whole time. So I'm not wasting my time hitting stencil like I'm doing right now. So this allows you to go deeper. So let's say you had a thinner mask, like a 3 mil or 2 mil. Okay. If you did multiple passes and just concentrate on the edge area, you can actually go deeper than you would by going back and forth. That's because you're putting less stress on the stencil. So here I'm going to go across to get it nice and sharp. Okay. You can kind of see from the opposite side, see where you're at on depth. You know, that's why they give clear glass. Also from the angles from the down below, you gotta, I should have left that open here so you can see it. You can kind of see the depth you're getting already too. Maybe the angle of the camera can't get it like I can see it. See that, Michaela?
Oh yeah, that looks great so far.
Yeah, thank you. So the next step is, because that's about as deep as I can go with that line text without starting to see my resist starting to peel. So on this design, I like it for stage carving because it's an easy peel because you got fine points I can take my fingernail and pull back on the resist. Okay, so you got good starting points to get the resist off. Okay, now I'm not going to peel it all up in the machine because I don't want this film debris to get back into my machine. I want to put that in the garbage. So I'm just going to show you the starting method to get the film off. And then we're going to remove it from the machine. And I'll put it back in there for a shade effect in a little bit. All right, so here, like I said before, you got nice starters, so you can just kind of peel it back now. Once you got it started, it comes out pretty good. Okay? Little starters because you got the sharp points. So ideal image for doing stage carving. So I got my nice white outline cut pretty deep. Now I'm going to put it back in the machine. If you look at the air pressure right now, I have it at 5 psi. So anywhere between 2 and 5 psi is a good psi for getting any shading technique on glass. Because what you want to do here is get just a light gray on there instead of a pure white, which you get about 15 or 20 psi. So when I hit that from the same distance, I'll be able to get the gray effect. So again, I'm going to turn the machine on, put it back in. Same distance, same speed as before. But what's going to happen? You don't see it turn white right away, right? It's going to kind of turn gray. So a little whisper. That's the shading technique. Now, what you could also do if you wanted to get different shades is I could have left out a few stencil or left out a couple of green mask and then did my first shade and then remove this, go over the whole design again at the same speed, and each layer is going to become slightly darker. So I could actually get different shades of gray in there if I really wanted to, but just for time reasons, I just did an easy 2-stage. All right, we're ready to blast a whale tail. And this is the 5-stage image. I put the image on here just to show you on glass how it's gonna evolve, right, in different levels. But since I'm gonna remove that with the sand here in a second, I wanna put my mask so I know my stages in front of me, so I remember which is first and second and third and fourth and fifth in that sequence. So this is a good little thing to have on hand. You could also print your artwork and throw that on here. So whichever way helps you remember the stages. So I'm going to turn that on, glass at 40. Again, this is a 4 mil thick material. Again, this is 180 silicon carbide abrasive. So first stage is you want to remove all the dark membrane once again. So you get separation between all the mask segments. So I can get my easy feel and definition. So again, you're going to follow the next area with your spark of abrasive. You know you're hitting the resist at all times. So I got everything removed. Now I'm going to start my level. This is my first level. So this is going to be my deepest carve. So notice my flashlight's right in the glass, right? Not wasting any hitting stencil, because if I did that, it would be longer in the machine. So follow your flashlight to get everything that you want to go deep with. Now you're going to notice I start going at angles, because what happens with glass, it starts to taper as you go deeper. That's normal with any sandblasting. So what I do is once I get to the depth I want, I'll actually angle my glass, not my nozzle. I'll actually start digging it out so I get more of a steeper edge instead of a taper or a slope. So it's very critical. That's why I like carbide, because I can see where I'm at with my nozzle at all times. Very, very critical. You see the depth, right? You see how deep I'm at? I'm at least about 3/8 deep right now in that area.
Yeah, Darin, is this what you would call a doming technique as well?
Similar to doming as well. Great question. Yeah, if you want to create what we call shaping or doming, yeah, that's another technique where you can, by angling your glass, you can create a dome. You can create, waves. Yeah, a number of ways by shaping your nozzle. So it's like cutting it like butter.
Everyone watching out there, feel free to reply in the comments if you'd like to see a video of Darin doing doming.
So this is a 180 mesh abrasive, so it is taking a little bit longer to get the depth that I want to achieve. I usually like a 120 grit. That would have been done by now. But considered I want to use this grit for other purposes like halftones and very fine fonts, doing shading, that kind of thing. I like to stick with one abrasive for everything. So and I want you guys to do the same. So there's my depth there, Michaela. Close to a half inch right there. So again, the best effect is when you show it from a slight angle. See that dip in there?
As deep as the ocean floor, Darin.
Exactly. I like that. So we have the whale on the ocean floor, good one. So if you look here, it's almost, you want to go about half the thickness of your glass. Okay, so if I look at this angle, I can see it's probably close to half of my depth. I don't want to go anything more because that kind of affects the integrity of your glass. So I think that's a good first level right there. I think we'll move on to the next one. So what I'm doing now is I'm peeling off the second level. Again, by the math chart. So that's gonna be the second deepest. Okay. So I'm gonna blast that, not as deep as that layer, but close to it. Or just keep following. What I like about having thicker outlines too is in some stages I'll blast it until I remove that edge, and I know that's my width. So that's another method, but that's a little bit more down the road. I think of teaching you how to do that. So I'm just gonna follow the light, right, Michaela? Follow the light.
I heard one of our customers out there at a trade show in February, his name's Paul. He told me and Andy Hermaka that his favorite way to blast is seeing that little orange dot. If he doesn't see that orange dot, then it's a waste of time for him. I just thought that was the funniest thing ever.
I like that. There's a good point about abrasive. With carbide, if you don't see that little orange dot, there's likely no abrasive coming out of your nozzle, right? So you want to see that nice, bright, round dot there. And the other key is gives you the nice way to shape carve. Here's my tail. And if you look at a dimension of a tail, it's not going to be flat, right? They have a little dimension to it. So that's why I kind of create a little bit more, kind of a doming right here for a little extra treat. So it kind of gives you that different perspective instead of just a flat carve.
Yeah, it looks like there's wrinkles in there.
Yeah, he's an older whale, so he's got a few wrinkles. So we're going to go slightly deeper here. Okay.
That looks really nice.
So here's where we're at so far. So first, second. Now I'm going to start peeling the third layer, as you can see on my photo on the left, which is this layer. Correct here, and then peel. Now, when you're doing multi-level carvings, it does take more time than a traditional edge or a two-stage. A comfy chair, like on this machine or Crystal Elite, just sit down and take your time and get the depth that you want and just be relaxed.
Yeah, I think what's really great about this Elite too is that, you know, if you're able to sit down on a stool, you don't have to reach all the way to the floor to nail on a floor foot pedal. This Crystal Elite has a nice foot pedal already built into the machine, and it's kind of perfect height if you're sitting on a stool.
Yeah, exactly. So one key ingredient too, just like I showed you on the two-stage, is when you peel this mask off, make sure it doesn't fly around in your machine. Make sure you throw it in the garbage can outside your machine. So here's our fourth level. So this is what I'm going to blast into that outline, John. Okay. So if you look at it this degree, if you notice, I don't tape off the back of my glasses a lot, and that depends on your machine. These crystal glass machines don't require any extra protection. So you can see the different levels so far. You got 1, 2, we did our 3, and then our 4, and then we do my final 5. Okay. So what I'm going to do there is peel off this rest of the area on the whale tail. I'll leave a couple clear spots in there as well, just so you can see the difference in the contrast.
Doctor, what percentage do you think this piece would go for in comparison to just a simple surface edge?
Price-wise, well, you know, the way it works with Sandcarving is, you know, it's a unique item. It's something that does take more time than a printer, a scanner, or any of those other processes. And since it's the one-of-a-kind item, you gotta get paid for the time you're putting into the product. So a lot of my customers that do Stagecarving, they're charging a minimum of $100 an hour for their time. So this piece, I don't know how many minutes it's taking me so far, but I would estimate maybe 15 minutes of total time. So I want to charge an additional $25 onto the last piece for my labor alone. Now you can charge more or less based upon your market, right? But again, it comes out of the customer. A lot of these people that buy Stagecarving are from museums or corporate companies where they have a lot of money, right? So this is a unique item. We'll hire, you can always come back down. So this piece alone, I would probably estimate it if I was on like an antique roadshow or something. I'd probably say it's worth. I mean, it's priceless, right? But I would estimate it at least $50. Now my final step is what my favorite part is. On the previous piece, I showed you how to do shading with lower pressure. Now, what I'm going to show you on this one is a way to keep the pressure and just moving the piece further away and giving it a shotgun blast. What that means is the abrasive comes out fine like it normally does, but then it spreads apart like a shotgun shell, right? Boom, explodes. And that gives you the same shade effect, but it gives you more of a misty look. So it's like a foggy day on a whale.
Is there going to be something different you're doing with the foot pedal for this shotgun method?
Yep. Well, you see that the piece is at least, this is a 24-inch cabinet, so about 18 inches away. Point your nozzle directly at the piece, okay? Make sure you're hitting the mask area, not the opposite. And then what you're going to do is step on the pedal quickly, like I'm doing here. A shot, and then pull it. Abrasive. Like that. All right, so that was Stagecarving with 180 grits. So you can see why it's the Dr.FineGrit name, right? FineGrit can do everything. Carving, halftones, stone, you name it. The FineGrit 180 is the way to go, carbide. What I also want to mention is I've never done these two pieces of artwork ever in my life. I just found it today. So what I want to tell all of you is if you have questions on any artwork, how to find it is a good thing. What I generally do there is look in coloring books, believe it or not, because it's outlines. And you can find images online, like tattoo images. So there's a lot of ways to find this. Now, but again, questions, get hold of me on any channel, whether it's Instagram, YouTube Live now with Dr.FineGrit, or you have my email address, right? That's how people got hold of me in the past. djones@ikonics.com. Or just give me a call. Love to talk with you in person, over the phone, 800-643-1037. And the closest to my cell phone at extension 113. So thank you all of you for watching the episode of Dr.FineGrit. And looking forward to working with you here in the future. Have a blast.
All right, that was a great episode, Darin. How'd you feel about that?
Yeah, it went well. Yeah. Couldn't I lived it, so watching recording of it is almost as good, but living it is a lot better, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Darin, do you want to just give a quick recap about the film that you were using today and why why you would use that one?
Yeah. I usually stick to what works really well for a lot of my customers, which is the dry process. This one was RapidMask high-tack 4mm film being used. Reason why I stick with the dry process is so it can be used anywhere in your home, your basement, your bedroom, whatever it may be. Also, 4mm film is notoriously known for moderate etching, not deep carving. But the tips that you saw there in the episode where I stayed in one area and just carved at the glass without hitting any stencil, that's one of the tips how you go deeper with a thin mill. So and that's due to the carbide abrasive. I call that my flashlight effect, or like a path that you can see. I use a lot of analogies. One comes to me right now because I did a fire pit last night with my kids because my oldest just graduated from high school. So we had a little fire pit, little extravaganza. So the analogy there is it's like taking a flashlight out to the fire pit. You can see where your path is. You're getting the same path there and back. So you never waver off. That's how it works with the silicon carbide. You're always hitting that path. You're never wavering off. And that allows you to hit that same area over and over to go deeper and deeper and deeper. And that's how you get these cool effects. So silicon carbide, by far the best abrasive on the market for doing stage carving, and 4mm RapidMask. That's the way to go. Stay in the path.
All right, great. Well, it looks like we've got a question right off the bat here.
Sure.
Peter wants to know how deep can you carve with RapidMask HT high tech?
On glass, well, the rule of thumb is you can go up to a 1/8 carving with a 4mm, and that's if you hit your abrasive on the mask and the glass at the same time. So that's a general rule of thumb. Now, if you use a coarser grit, a lower air pressure, you can go deeper too because you're less frictional heat on the stencil. But 1/8 is kind of our measuring tool. Now, in the video that you saw where I carved into the whale tail pretty deep, kind of looks like I sunk a bunch of teeth into the glass, doesn't it? Well, that's close to a 1/2 inch depth with a 4mm mask, which is normally like a 10mm resist. But again, that's about staying on the path, just hitting the glass, carving the glass, and not putting stress on the stencil. And that's what allows you to carve deeper. Like you said, if you want to go deeper as well, lower the frictional heat. So that's by lowering the air pressure, maybe going with a slightly coarser grit, maybe a little bit further away with your nozzle. Those are ways to lower your frictional heat. And that'll allow you to carve deeper. But like I said, general rule of thumb, 1/8 of an inch.
Now, I'm kind of curious too,
Sure.
Doctor, when you're trying to lower that frictional heat, it just kind of comes to mind, when you're trying to carve really deep, do you need to take little breaks or intermissions throughout your process of blasting just to reduce that stress on the mask?
Yeah, I've come across some artists over the years. Yeah, they'll do what we call a pass system, kind of like how laser engravers work. They go one pass over your design, and if they need to repeat it, they go back and do it again. That's the best process with sand carving because you're cooling down the stencil in between passes. So yeah, lowering the heat on there really helps. I've actually come across some artists over the years that have like a little fan in there that blow cold air on there, and so that's really getting high tech, right? But yeah, just keep the frictional heat low, and that's going to allow your stencil to last a lot longer. I've had a lot of questions. Why can't we make a heat resistant film? Right? Well, not quite there yet, but that's what we're trying to do is reduce it. We can do that. We can't get rid of it, but we can reduce it. So just run multiple passes. And like I said, lower your air pressure. That's the best way to lower that frictional heat. Sometimes people go to a smaller orifice nozzle to reduce the frictional heat as well. That helps. But then you may, need to move your nozzle further away, which will help. But your carving time is important too. You don't want to be there till tomorrow carving. So yeah, like I said, you're going to find your own way. Stage carving is an art, and it's fun, and it's profitable. We all like that part of it. And you're going to find your own way. I'm just giving you some tips to follow and take it from there.
Great advice. Do you want to touch on briefly, I hear a lot of people that say, which layers do I need to peel next to achieve that 3-dimensional look? Do you just want to touch on that again? I know we've seen it in the video, but it might for some how to do that.
Yeah, that stage carving, the way it developed was people were using buttercut, which is a vinyl material with a plotter. And what they did was they designed multiple stencils. And that's, so they put one stencil on top of another in a layer process. So customers that went into photoresist would always ask that same question. Don't I need multiple stencils to create a multi-dimensional piece? And my answer is no. And that's because you can create your artwork differently than what a plotter can create. Plotters can't get those little 2-point lines to create. You know, they can't get into the detail like we did earlier in some other videos with maple leaves and flowers. So you're kind of limited on your design. So photoresist is one stencil, and it's just a matter of preparing your artwork accordingly to figure out your steps. Now, yeah, this is the one step, one mask. And that was my whale design. So this area here is carved the deepest. So that was my 1/2-inch depth. And then I peeled off this resist, created my second step. Now it's important that you don't overlap your sand carving because that'll round off your edge and so you lose that definition. So I think I explained all that in the video, but just to reiterate, this is one stencil, and that's all you really need with stage carving. Now, I'm going to get artists that do say, well, I want to go like 100 stages. I want to really create some magical pieces. Well, in that case, yeah, you may need multiple stencils. But if you're doing like what we're doing here, 1 step, 2 step, up to 5 or 6 that I normally teach in a beginner kind of an intermediate class, you know, then you need 1 stencil only. You don't need multiple. Okay, so again, 1 through 6, 1 stencil. You get into the teens, hundreds, yeah, then you may need a multiple amount of stencils. All right.
Great.
Yeah.
We have another question here. Should you carve with a 1/8 inch or a 3/32 inch nozzle?
Great question. I when I do carving, shape carving is another term I use. I do recommend the smaller orifice nozzle, the 3/32. And that's because when you go in closer with your nozzle, you'll get like a V cut with your carving. Further away, you get a U shape. So you can get different carving looks, whether you're doing a chisel cut or like a rounded barrel or a balloon shape. You know, that's by just moving your nozzle inward or outward. Now, if it's a bigger orifice nozzle, when I go in close, I won't be able to get that really sharp chisel cut, like a knife point. I'll be able to get a slight, like a blunt tip, which isn't very attractive because it's blunt, it's not sharp. So the smaller orifice, the better, because you always can move away further from your piece to create a wider path, right? So you have more flexibility with a smaller orifice. So like a 1/8 nozzle, at 4 inches away, you get about a 1/4 inch beam, flashlight again on the glass. Now, if you move it further away to a foot away, that just expanded to about 1.5 inches. So that's quite a big difference. Whereas a 1/8, bigger orifice, it works good at this distance, but getting close, not so good. So 3/32 is what I recommend. 1/16 of an inch works too, but that, you know, that's getting into a different, you know, grit and all that stuff too. So 3/32, 180 silicon carbide, RapidMask high tack. It's a great marriage.
That actually answered our next question too about what size abrasive you would recommend. So maybe you just ought to remind people what mesh size we used.
Yeah, I used 180 in that video. Now, I'll tell you this, the 180 did take a little longer to carve to the depth that I wanted to achieve. So, and also the texture is a fine texture, not the nice wavy, like more natural. So if I was going to be carving this wavable design on a more frequently scheduled base, I would definitely go with like a 150 grit. The time will be cut down quite a bit on my labor. Also, the texture will be a little bit coarser, more white too. The deeper you go in the course of the grit, the image tends to turn a little bit more pure white. So a lot of the glass artists out there that use our film for deep carving is usually a 150 silicon carbide or like a 120 aluminum oxide. So my recommendation, 150 silicon carbide. Final answer.
You might have won $1 million there. Let's talk a minute about the doming method.
Yeah.
You did show a little bit in that wave there what doming is. And I think some of our viewers out there might want to see a video out there on doing doming. So maybe just explain what that is, what it means to you.
Yeah, doming, this is a craft that my manager, Peter Norman, has been doing a lot too. It's fairly popular overseas. I discussed this topic when I taught a class in China once. And that's because they do a lot of bowls, they do a lot of plates. I don't have an example of a doming, but I do have a plate here that was 2-stage. But what the doming is creating like a cylinder or a round shape carve into glass. So if you're doing like a rose petal or a golf ball, any kind of round, like a horizon kind of shape, that's what you're doing with the abrasive. Now, the techniques I usually show there, and it's hard to show without a machine in my hand. Like, if I was in the shop, like I said, our next video, we can show this technique. But what you do is you put your nozzle in the center, and you start there, and you just kind of do small little circles. And you slow, and eventually you just kind of make your nozzle a little bit wider path. You just kind of keep it doing little circles, and that's how you create like a little dome effect in the glass. I've done a lot with, like I said, flowers. Anything where it's got that horizon or half moon kind of look. So yeah, doming is fairly popular because it's the only process where you can achieve a smooth, even as well with practice, just nice carve into the glass like a half moon. It takes practice, like I said, but it's achievable. Just start doing little circle techniques.
Great. That's some great advice. Do you have any thoughts, Darin, on color filling along with stage carving? Is there anything special that people should be practicing there?
Color filling a stage carve? Is that the question?
Yeah, well, just that's kind of more or less my thought here.
Oh, okay.
Do people color fill stage carved items? Is that not really a thing?
Not really. I wouldn't put any paint in there because, in the technique, because you're peeling off stage after stage, it'd be hard to apply paint with a aerosol or airbrush. You'd have to apply it by hand. That just adds to your labor. It also adds into blockage of light. A lot of the times when people do stage carving, they'll accent their piece with a LED light. Here, just regular. What I like to show you is if you add a little light into your stage carve, you can see the big difference. The image will pop. I use that word a lot, pop. And it's what makes it very attractive and noticeable. You're going to get people go, wow, how'd you do that? That's amazing. I've never seen that process before. That's glass? There's no way. So this is a way that you can create a little more light into your object. So I'm going to put this up here with my iPhone here down below. So you can see the it accents the carving. You can see the white outline really well. Okay. Trying to rotate a little bit too. You can really see how the light goes into the cavity. So the deeper the carve is, the more light that's in the cavity, so it makes it brighter. That's because there's more lumens in there. So deeper the carve, the more light.
Having light on there sure makes it a really nice display piece for a shop or a gift or what have you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So if you put paint in there, it'd have to be a transparent stain, because most of the times stage carving is shown from the first surface to the second surface. First surface is the non-etched or polished surface. So if there was paint in there, it would block the light unless it was a transparent stain. So that's why I like to use it just like this. And you can get colored LEDs, red, blue. You can get the ones that put maybe red on one side, blue on the other. I mean, you can mix and match the lights to give it a different effect. And that way you can change out the color, right? Based upon the season. So I recommend that with the LED versus using traditional paint. Because I think paint kind of dumbs the value, lowers the value. Just because it could be made with a mold process or something like that. So I'd stick with that traditional carving from the Sandcarver.
Great. That's a really thoughtful recommendation then.
Oh yeah.
I do know that when people have sand carved something, and they're trying to achieve that frosted look, and they have a lot of a frosted look, sometimes they would use, is it linseed oil to kind of prevent fingerprints and stuff? Have you heard of that?
Yeah. Yeah, as you can notice, I'm handling this piece quite a bit with my fingers. I just had lunch, so there's probably some of my fingerprints left behind. A way to prevent any fingerprint marks or any grease, any kind of dust accumulated on there, because people are going to touch it. That's what sand carving is all about. You want people to get that in their hands and feel it. So the way to prevent that is a number of products. Back when I started doing this, the familiar topic is called frog juice. That was before linseed oils for different, that's for wood and other products. So it's called frog juice, but they actually changed the name over the years. It's now called Invisible Shield, but then it went to Clear Shield. So Clear Shield's the product now you can buy, and it's sold through Crystal Edge. And what it is once you sand carve, remove the mask and clean it, you take this Clear Shield, comes on there's a sponge and a little bit of liquid. You just kind of dampen it with a sponge, and it retains that nice texture from sand carving, but also seals the pores so it doesn't pick up any kind of fingerprint marks. So yeah, definitely recommend Clear Shield for those of you that do stage carving, because it retains it. So 20 years from now, when people are touching and feeling it, it's going to look the same as it did right off the bat. So yeah, get your Clear Shield. Great.
Along with that, it's funny that you actually mentioned the Clear Shield, because we have another question here. Where would you recommend getting the LED bases to really make the stage carving stand out, or as you would say, pop?
Yeah.
I don't know if you'd give the same answer as I would, but I've bought lighted bases from Crystal Edge as well.
Yeah, that was the go-to place for many years. They're a little hard to come by with some companies. I recommend nowadays actually building your own. US LED, it's a company here in the US, obviously. They'll supply LED strips to you. You can build your own. Just groove out a little strip in a piece of wood, maybe take some extruded aluminum. You can find a number of things to hide these LEDs into to support your light base. Another avenue is rope lighting. The Christmas lights, rope lighting was fairly popular too to highlight your sand carving. Just buy it on the roll, lay it around your glass, and that's all you basically have to do. You can do like heart shapes, you can do circle shapes. With the rope, you can make it anything you want. So number of different ways. But yeah, I'd buy my own LED strips and be creative and make your own bases. Yep.
Okay.
Maybe that might be a future episode.
That's a really great idea. I never thought of building my own plated base. So
yeah, there's number of ways. I used to be an electrical manager at a home improvement store, so I got several ideas how to light different objects. So I just, like I said, it could be a future episode.
I can definitely attest to that. I've seen you work your magic with electrical situation. Well, looks like the questions are down here.
Okay.
If you want to add anything? I think that we can wrap it up here.
Yeah, episode 7. It's in the books. I just wanted to thank all of you for watching. I think our next episode's on maintenance on machines, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
We're maintenance on crystal glass machines.
Yeah. So we're going to cover like the machine here behind me, our Crystal Blast Elite, cover some tips and tricks on how to maintain your machine properly. During this situation we're in right now, it's important to keep your machine finely tuned. So when we do get busy again, you're not behind the 8 ball. So we're going to cover ways to make sure the filters clean properly, the nozzles in good shape, and how to clean a few things to keep it running good. Keep in mind too, if you're not using the machine daily, make sure you empty some abrasive, okay? Don't leave a full pressure pot if it's going to sit stale for many months. So just a little tip there. That'll keep your abrasive running smoothly. And then you add your abrasive once you get moving again in a normal fashion. So that's just one little tip today, but there'll be many more next week on the next edition of Wisdom Wednesday with Dr. FineGrit. And, all I can say is carve with confidence, blast with confidence, and have a blast, of course, right? Have a good day.
All right. Thanks, folks. Have a great day. We'll see you next week.